Arsenal set to step up their efforts to land Eberechi Eze. Viktor Gyökeres will undergo his Arsenal medical today. And will Gabriel Jesus be moved on between now and the end of this window? All of that and loads more to get into on today's episode of the Chronicles of a Gooner podcast. Let's get into it. Hey, everybody, how are we doing? Welcome back to the pod. Hope you're all good. Hope you're all well. Having a wonderful Saturday so far. Coming to you a little bit later today. Don't worry, we haven't forgotten about the routine and all the rest of it. Wasn't feeling great when I woke up this morning. I haven't been feeling great for the last couple of days, but you know when you just keep taking paracetamols and ibuprofens and all the rest of it and doing all the things within your power to kind of resist and fight off the illness before it gets you. That's what I've been trying to do, but I think it's finally caught up with me today. And it's sod's law that it's today, because today is the first time, I guess, in the lead up to the new season that I'm covering a match for BBC Radio. So right after this, I'm going to be hopping in the car and driving up to Kenilworth Road, the home of Luton Town, where I've got some pretty fond memories. Remember that dramatic late comeback, or the late winner, Declan Rice? Do you remember that? Fantastic moment. I've covered a few other games there that were pretty enjoyable. Always a cracking atmosphere at Kenilworth Road. You won't get that today in a pre-season friendly. But I suppose the worst part about it is that I'm covering their game against Tottenham. Now, there is a tiny little part of me that's interested to see, and I know you're not going to gauge a lot from an early pre-season friendly, but there is a tiny part of me that's interested to see what Thomas Frank's Tottenham Hotspur are going to look like versus Ange Postecoglou's Tottenham Hotspur. So little bit of spying behind enemy lines today for me. But yeah, I'll be doing that a little bit later on. So yeah, I thought I'd make sure that we got a podcast in before, of course, I hit the road. Thank you all so much for all your love and support, and for being with me on this Saturday morning. If you haven't done so already, and you wouldn't mind, please do leave a like on the video. That really does help. And make sure, if you're with us on YouTube, that you're subscribed to the channel as well. If you're listening to us on Apple or Spotify, leave us a review. If you're a Patreon, thank you for your amazing support. We've got another Patreon piece in the pipeline. I'm not going to reveal quite what it is yet, because I haven't quite added the finishing touches to it. So that will be with you over the course of, it should have been today, really. But unfortunately, because I felt shit this morning, I didn't have time to finish it off before we came live. So I'll get that done. If not later today, then definitely tomorrow, and it'll be with you. And remember, we're back for another watch along. We are back for another watch along of Arsenal's game against Newcastle United tomorrow. It kicks off at 12:30 p.m. UK time. We'll be live from 10 past 12:10 right here on the Chronicles of a Gooner YouTube channel. We will kick off our live watch along. We had an unbelievable response to the one that we did on Wednesday. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it and will come back. So yeah, really looking forward to bringing you that, of course. Right. Without further ado, then let's get into today's story, shall we? We're going to start with Gabriel Jesus. Now, Hand of Arsenal reported yesterday that Andrea Berta was exploring the possibility of moving Gabriel Jesus on this summer. Now, I got to be honest, I didn't think we stood much chance of moving Gabriel Jesus on this summer, because he's still recovering from that knee injury. I don't think he's expected to be back in contention until the back end of this year, until later on this year. And so there was a part of me that thought, look, I would entertain that idea. And if the offer was right, and if Gabby Jesus is wanting to go, because obviously he lost his place at centre forward to Kai Havertz. And then, you know, Viktor Gyökeres has come in as well, which adds another layer. You think about the other roles that he can do. He can play from wide, but we've got two left wingers, and we've got Noni Madueke coming in as well on the right-hand side, which means that if you were looking at Jesus as the backup to Saka, which we talked about on this pod actually just a few weeks ago, then it feels like that won't necessarily be a role that's available to him either. Look, from an Arsenal point of view, from a club perspective, you've got to be ruthless in a situation like this. You've got to be realistic about whether or not you think Gabby Jesus can get back to a good level. And, you know, he's got 2 years left on his contract, I believe. So it feels like a like the last time that you might be able to get something for him. Because as I keep saying when we're talking about Eberechi Eze, once another season passes and the player's going into the final year, that significantly impacts on their value. So if you're Berta, I can understand why you'd be weighing this up. I have to be able to put my personal feelings on the player to one side, because I really like Gabi Jesus, man. I think he's a fantastic player when fit. Problem is that hasn't been the case for a while now. I think he's got a great attitude. I think he's one of the leaders. I think he was a real part of the leveling up of Arsenal. And I'll always, whatever happens, right? Whatever happens, I'll always give him and Alexander Zinchenko the utmost respect for coming into Arsenal at a time where we were missing out on Champions League football. And those two at the beginning of their Arsenal careers, wow, the way they elevated the level and lifted things at Arsenal was just incredible. And they were a massive catalyst in where Arsenal have kind of got to today, and that journey that we've been on to get to this point where, yeah, now expectations are high. And now we're hoping to get over the line and do the special things that we've been dreaming of for such a long time. So for me, those guys, they are, look, we've evolved past them. I think we evolved past Zinchenko because it became apparent that at the really kind of highest level, he's not a good enough defender, good footballer, but he's not a good enough defender. We moved past Zinchenko. I still think Gabriel Jesus, however, would have a role to play in this squad. Maybe not in the first 11, but in the squad, but for the injuries. But you can't ignore the injuries. The injuries are a massive problem. The injuries are a massive issue. And so we have to accept the reality, which is that, you know, there's a good chance that Jesus, even if he does fight his way back to fitness, he's never going to be anywhere close to the level that he was previously. And as Arsenal Football Club, given he's quite a high earner, we should probably be looking to move him on. So Andrea Berta's exploring that possibility. There are some reports this morning saying that Flamengo in Brazil have shown an interest in the player, that they would like to take him on loan with an option to buy at the end of the season. And I think that's right on their part. They're not going to want to take too big a risk on a player that, you know, there's still question marks around with regards to how fit and sharp he's going to be. And it's said that Gabriel Jesus is open to this. And if he is, I think we should let it happen. Because we're going to talk about Eberechi Eze in a bit, right? And we're going to talk about where Arsenal are at on this, whether Arsenal are actually going to sort of accelerate now and try and get that deal done. A lot of people say that it's dependent on sales and exits, and that's what Arsenal are focused on at the moment. And when you have that conversation, it leads to talk about transfer fees, right? Because when you say to someone, we need to prioritize exits, the first thing they do is they get their calculator out on their phone. I know I do it anyway. And they go, well, we could get 10 million for this player and 15 million for that player and 25 million for that player. And if we got that, all of a sudden, right, we are close to meeting the demands of Crystal Palace for someone like Eberechi Eze. I don't think it's so much about the transfer fees. I think it's more to do with the salary, the wages. It's more to do with making sure that we have a wage bill that is sustainable and that we have a wage bill that we can cope with. And getting Gabriel Jesus out of the door might not bring us big money in terms of a potential transfer fee down the line, but it will certainly save us a good amount of money. Because he came in on a pretty big pay packet. I don't know the exact in and outs of it, but I'm pretty confident in saying that he's on more than 200 grand a week. And so if you can move him on, it's not necessarily about what you're going to get in terms of transfer fee coming in. It's about the saving that you make on his wages. Because whenever we hear from Arsenal, whenever we talk about the financials and the results, there's always that thing of our costs are going up. Yes, we're qualifying for the Champions League. We're getting into that competition regularly now, and that is bringing higher revenues. But our outgoings are getting bigger and bigger and bigger because you've got players coming in, and as time goes on, salaries are going up. You've got players that were initially on reasonable salaries that we as a club felt were pretty okay and affordable, who then develop, go on to a higher level, and then want a contract extension renewal. And in order to entice them into doing that, you probably need to give them, in most cases, a pay rise. So I think that's the issue. And so when you're looking at what we can get for Gabi Jesus, don't focus on what Flamengo might pay for him 12 months down the line. Focus on the saving that we're going to make, because that is the key here. That is the key. But look, I really like Gabi Jesus, and the romantic in me felt that, if we kept a hold of him and he could come back at the end of the year, he could give us that little bit extra post-Christmas, maybe score a couple of really important goals, and that be the difference. But that's my heart talking. My head thinks the right thing to do is, if there is an opportunity to offload him at this stage, and using the term offload him sounds like I want to kick him out. It's not the case. But if there is an opportunity to move him on, I think as Arsenal, you've got to explore that. And that's where having a more ruthless and a more experienced sporting director, I think, is going to show. Can we get something for Gabi Jesus, even if it's the saving on his wages? Because a lot of sporting directors would have looked at it and gone, well, he's not fit. Who the hell's going to buy him? And just left it at that. So I quite like that we're proactive in this, and we're exploring that possibility. But yeah, Flamengo said to be interested. Let's see, of course, how that goes. Viktor Gyökeres is due to have his Arsenal medical today. There were lots of photos floating around on social media yesterday of him on a private jet with his agent, Hasan Çetinkaya, who is said to have waived his commission to get this deal over the line and get this deal done. Let me just say something about this, right? Because this has annoyed me a little bit. Not that he's waived it. And listen, I tip my hat to everybody involved on Viktor Gyökeres' side, because they were desperate to make this happen. And we love to see it as Arsenal fans. But I've heard some people talking about this over the last few days going, oh, man, what a fantastic agent. Like, he's waived his commission. And because of that, his client has been able to get the dream move. And now all these top players are surely going to flock to Hasan Çetinkaya, the agent, because he cares about his clients and players more than any other agent. And he's willing to take a financial hit in order to facilitate their dreams. Let me tell you this. I am certain that Hasan Çetinkaya will be making his money, maybe not all of the money, but a lot of the money that he would have made from this transfer on the side. Now, how that's going to work, I don't know. Did Arsenal get involved and say, look, waive your fee with regards to this deal so that we can get it done with Sporting and we'll sort you out on the side? Did Viktor Gyökeres agree to contribute towards this on the side? There's so many things that could have been done, right? But this idea that an agent has just gone, don't worry about it, mate. I don't want anything. This is what you want. Don't worry about it. I don't want a penny, is wild. That has not happened. I promise you, Hasan Çetinkaya is getting his money somehow. Maybe not all the money. Maybe he has agreed for it to kind of drop down. Maybe he has agreed for it to be reduced. I don't know. But he will definitely be getting paid for this agreement. And Thomas says that would be illegal. Why would it be illegal? Why would it be illegal for him to come to some sort of agreement? Like, if he is, if he's operating under a company, why would it be illegal for that company to set up an agreement with either Viktor Gyökeres or Arsenal? Why would that be illegal? It's not illegal. He would have waived his fee in terms of, not demanding it in the transaction of the transfer, but they can certainly come up with something on the side. John P says, that's nonsense. He reduced his fee. That's all happens. He was asking for too much in the first place. And John P says that is illegal to pay on the side. No, it's not. It's absolutely not. Because you can waive that fee and then you can have a contractual agreement in place for something completely different on paper. And it's not illegal at all. It's not illegal at all. When I say money on the side, or when I say, getting his money in some other way, I'm not talking about somebody filling up a brown envelope with cash and passing it to him under the table and saying, shh. But these are business people and big businesses, right? They can come up with some sort of creative way of making this happen. It's not illegal at all. It's not illegal at all. You can charge someone a consultancy fee. And why is that illegal? It's not. It's not. Anyway, Viktor Gyökeres having his medical today. It's understood that his family were in tears when they found out that the transfer had been complete. Well, I'm not surprised. I mean, Sporting basically broke their balls, didn't they? For the best part of a month until we got to the point where people were starting to feel confident that this was going to happen. So are we going to get an update later today saying that he's completed the medical? Don't know. Are we going to get an announcement over the course of the weekend? Don't know. I'd guess it'll probably be very, very early next week with a view to him joining up with the team and taking part in some capacity in that game against Tottenham over in Hong Kong. So, yeah, we'll see when we're going to get the update on that one. Right, short pause. When we come back, we're going to talk Eberechi Eze, and we're going to take a few of your questions as well. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Chronicles of a Gooner pod.
You're listening to the Chronicles of a Gooner. Like and subscribe.
That's right. You're listening to the Chronicles of a Gooner podcast. Like and subscribe. Now, according to Miguel Delaney, Arsenal are now planning to move swiftly for Eberechi Eze, having completed the deal for Viktor Gyökeres. Eze's been linked with us for a while. Eze has been talking apparently to people close to him about the possibility of joining Arsenal. Again, this is based on reports that we're reading. I like Eze. I think he's the one. I think he's the player that Arsenal should be moving for. I think if we manage to get him in through the door, then we are in a really, really good place, and we'd have definitely improved the squad sufficiently, in my opinion. But whether or not Arsenal are at the point just yet where they're going to, put their foot down and drive forward with this, I'm not sure. There's been a lot of talk about the need to focus on those outgoings for the time being. And we've talked about how that doesn't necessarily, revolve around transfer fees that you bring in, but more so making sure that your wage bill is under control and making sure that there is space, both financially or more financially than anything else, in the squad to accommodate a transfer like this, because Eberechi Eze is going to come in on a big contract. There's no question about that if we get it done. Look, I'm not sitting here saying that this isn't true because I don't know. But from what I hear, and again, I don't often claim to be ITK in the know. From what I hear, there's been no contact with Crystal Palace yet. Now, there have been some reports in the past that Arsenal have had sort of very casual and informal discussions with Crystal Palace around this, who have informed them that they will only accept the release clause and nothing less than that. I could be wrong. These reports could be right. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. But when I've tried to find out a little bit more about this, when I've done a little bit of digging, and admittedly, my digging has been more from the Crystal Palace side because of a contact that I have there, I've been told that nothing's happened in terms of that conversation. That conversation hasn't been had, that they wouldn't rule out the possibility of Arsenal being in contact with Eberechi Eze via intermediaries, but that there's been no club-to-club talks. So if there's been no club-to-club talks, are Arsenal at the point where they're ready to kind of really execute on this, or will they be beginning the process of having that discussion with Crystal Palace now and trying to find out a little bit more about whether this is possible at any price point lower than that release clause? Now, I would argue that the release clause, when you think about it, is £68 million in total, I think, of which £8 million would be add-ons. I don't think it's that crazy. When you think what Anthony Elanga's just gone for, when you think about what Brian Mbeumo's just gone for, when you think about what we've paid for Noni Madueke, I don't think this is crazy money at all. But as I've said before, I think if you're Crystal Palace and you don't sell Eberechi Eze this summer and you keep him for another season, he then ends up in a situation where he's going into his final year, and Crystal Palace stand a very low chance, in my opinion, of finding someone at that point, a year older, a year less on his contract, that is going to pay that release clause. So it feels to me like for Palace, it makes sense to come to the negotiating table. And if Arsenal can do it at 60 million, that will feel like a win for us. But I think Crystal Palace quietly will be quite pleased with that as well, given the situation that they find themselves in. I know a lot of people have linked Eze's potential exit to the potential exit of Mark Gay as well. I think that's a really separate thing. I feel a bit for Palace because, they're going to have to they're going to have to lose key players. And obviously, they've already had that kick in the stomach of being sort of demoted from the Europa League to the Conference League. Although they have appealed that decision, perhaps they're waiting to find out a little bit more about that. Perhaps that will give them a clearer picture of what their financial landscape looks like. And then they can make a decision accordingly on that. I don't know, but this feels like one we're going to have to be quite patient over. I could be completely wrong, but I don't think that you're going to hear of Arsenal making significant progress on this one in the next week. So when people are saying that we're going to, move swiftly, I'm not sure. Just based on what I've heard, I could be wrong. So that's my take on that. Those are my thoughts on that. Let's take a few questions and thoughts from the live chat. Godfrey Williams says, Harry, what is the support of your argument about the agent? Well, it's just a feeling. It's just a feeling. I'm confident that no agent at that level is just going to go, don't worry about it, I won't be paid. And I'm sure that there's been some kind of alternative arrangement made, some sort of arrangement that was taken away from Sporting in terms of their sort of responsibility to meet that obligation, to allow the deal to go through, and it will be sorted in some other way. I think that's my opinion. I'm not claiming that there's brown envelopes going from under the table. I've said that already, but I just get that impression that there will be some kind of alternative arrangement put in place. And why not? There's nothing wrong with that. You're just taking Sporting out of the equation. It's like going and buying something direct from the manufacturer rather than going through the seller in between and saving yourself a few quid. It happens. Okay. Jimmy says that remember to hit that like button, folks. Thank you. Yes, please do. Quick reminder, if you haven't done so already, leave a like on the video. It really, really does help. And make sure that you are subscribed to the channel if you haven't done so already. How many likes have we got on the board, by the way? Let's have a look. We have got 900 of you with us live right now, which is incredible. We've only got 149 likes on the board. Come on, guys. There's no reason why we shouldn't have 400 at the absolute minimum likes on the board. So I want to get there by the time we end this stream. Get involved. Like, subscribe. Doesn't cost a thing. Okay. Wobberjog says, Harry, hear me out. If we sell Martinelli to Bayern at a discount of 30 to 40 million, Liverpool don't get the funds for Isak. Isak stays at Newcastle. We grab Eze and Rodrigo. Operation Zubimendi 2.0 success. That is very, very far-fetched. First of all, I don't think Arsenal can sign Eze and Rodrigo. I think it'll be one or the other, and it's way more likely at the moment that it's Eze than it is Rodrigo. I read some reports coming out of Spain this morning in which it's claimed that Arsenal have made it clear to Rodrigo's camp that they will not meet his salary demands based on those kind of discussions that have taken place. So I think the Rodrigo thing is highly, highly unlikely at the moment. And listen, I get what you're saying about Isak going to Liverpool and how, if Bayern bought Martinelli, they wouldn't buy Luis Diaz. And if they didn't buy Luis Diaz, then Liverpool won't get the funds maybe to go out and get Alexander Isak. I get all that. But I really do think we have to stop obsessing about what other clubs are doing and just focus on ourselves, man. Just focus on ourselves. Let's keep rolling through the live chat. Carrie Tanninen says, there was an article in the Daily Mail saying that Gyökeres chose Arsenal partly because Amorim treated Victor Lindelof badly. It is the Daily Mail, but I wonder if there's any truth to it. He's not going to say it publicly. I mean, as you said it yourself, it's the Daily Mail, so I don't know. I'm not saying everybody that writes at the Daily Mail is just a clickbaiter, but there are a lot of those, and sometimes you get those stories where it just says it's written by the editor. There's no name on it, and you've always got to be wary of those. Look, as far as I'm aware, Ruben Amorim and Viktor Gyökeres had a really good relationship, but I can't say that this is definitely not true, because I don't know, is the honest answer. Jay Dime says, out of all the signings this summer, is Berta the best? I think he's certainly shown already that he is tougher when it comes to negotiations, that he's stronger in negotiations. His approach, I think, has confused a lot of people, which is kind of a good thing in that it keeps that mystique around Arsenal a little bit, whereby, you're hearing about multiple names and you don't know which one Arsenal are actually thinking about pulling the trigger on. So, yeah, I mean, I'm liking what I'm seeing so far, but we'll see. We'll see how this develops, and what this window turns out to bring us in terms of the effectiveness of these players. That's when we'll judge it, I think. Sally Hughes says, could the Eze signing trigger a completely different tactical philosophy? I think the Eze signing would give us that bit more creative spark. And I think that, Mikel Arteta is and has been brilliant at setting up teams to be strong defensively, well organized, and to work really, really hard. But if I had one criticism, it would be that we don't have enough of that unpredictability in the final third. And we've talked about this on many, many occasions. Bringing in more players like Eze, like Madueke, that will help us. Giving Nwaneri more opportunity, that will help us in that department. So I think, yeah, you're right. I think it would trigger something differently. I don't know if it would completely change the philosophy, but I think it would shift the mindset maybe into, okay, we've got all these great structural things about us, but now it's time that we, kind of built that structure in a way that gives license to two or three of our more creatives, rather than it being all a kind of system first approach. So I think that's where the difference could be. Samus says, if Eze does come in, can you see one more marquee signing to end the window? No. Is my honest opinion. I think if we get Eberechi Eze in, that'll be us done. That'll be our business done. Samip says he's hearing that Jesus will be a loan. That's what we said initially to Flamengo, and it might be a 50-50 salary. He says, and it will open the door for Eze and Rodrigo/Leao. Maybe even Trossard might be sold. I don't think we're signing Rodrigo, and I don't think we're signing Leao either. And I don't want us to sign Leao, by the way. I don't rate him enough. But on the 50-50 stuff, that could be the case. That could be the case. But even if it is the case, let's say that he is on over 200 grand a week, 250 grand a week. Some people are saying 270. I don't know. I haven't looked it up. And even when you do look it up, you don't always get accurate figures on this stuff. I would argue that saving 100 grand, 120 grand a week is massive in terms of allowing us to then go out and sign an Eberechi Eze on potentially 150, 200 grand a week. So, yeah. Kingley agrees with me on the whole agent thing. The agent is definitely getting the money in one way or the other. Absolutely. He's probably going to charge Arsenal a consultancy fee or something for the rest of the season or something. Who knows? Listen, I'm not saying that anything underhanded is going on, but I just, knowing what we know about these super agents, as they're known, they're great business people and they will find a way. Jimmy says, if we get to 400 likes, he's going to gift a membership. That's very, very kind of you, my friend. Very, very kind of you. I would say on the memberships, guys, you're better off coming over to Patreon than doing the YouTube membership. And I'll explain a little bit about why. I probably should have explained this in the past. I think I did, but it would have been a while back now. And I know we've got lots of new subscribers since then. But when it comes to YouTube memberships, they shave quite a bit off of it for themselves. And that's why a lot of people go down the Patreon route. If you go down the Patreon route, you're going to get access to all our exclusive content, and it's much more creator friendly, shall we say? So yeah, check that out instead. David Marr, be careful in Luton. Nah, Luton's fine, man. Luton's fine. I've been there loads of times. Android Mafia says, any plans on hosting a fan debate on your channel? If that's what you lot want, we can do it over the course of the next couple of weeks for sure. Big thank you to Mark for your very kind super chat. He says, would you accept Eze and Mitoma, or Eze and Gordon for moderate wages but hefty transfer fees? Mitoma doesn't really excite me. Anthony Gordon I quite like, but again, we're not going to get 2 more attackers. It's not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that we're going to end up. With just the one. Jimmy says, I didn't know about the memberships. Sorry, I'll check it out. No, mate, no problem at all. It's my fault because I should make it clear. But our YouTube memberships, so many people have migrated over to Patreon that there's not really many anymore. And that's my fault that I've probably not communicated that as often and as clearly as I should, just because my focus has been on the Patreon side of things. But if you visit patreon.com, the Chronicles of a Gooner / the Chronicles of a Gooner, the link is in the description, and you sign up there, you'll get access to additional content. You'll get every episode that we do ad free, and you'll be part of the Patreon chat as well. So it's definitely better value for you, and it definitely works better for the podcast as well. So go over and check it out, and feel free to cancel the one on here. Not an issue at all. What else have we got? Let's take 1 or 2 more. Is Hand of Arsenal saying that Gyökeres is going to be announced today? Let's have a look. Just opening up my Twitter page. The plan is to announce Viktor Gyökeres as a new Arsenal player today. If all goes to plan, God willing, wait for my signal. And then he's put a gif of Bane walking out. Fantastic. Knowing my luck, it'll be while I'm on the radio covering a game involving that lot. But we're playing that lot next week, so it gives me an opportunity to have a look at Thomas Frank's side, and maybe I can bring a bit of insight to our coverage of that one. Right, guys, I am going to leave it there because I do need to sort my stuff out, get myself ready, and head down up to Kenilworth Road, Luton, for this afternoon's game, covering it for BBC Radio, which, I mean, it's not the most exciting game, but I'm always grateful to get the opportunities. And you know, if you want to go to Paris and Madrid, and you want that luxury of being able to cover those amazing games and cover our amazing club, sometimes you got to play a little give and take, and this is very much one of those games for me. But yeah, I'll see you all very, very soon. Until the next one, take care of yourselves and have a wonderful Saturday. Up the Arsenal. Goodbye.